Now part of the Darkcast Network. Welcome to Indie Podcasts with a Dark Side. On December 22nd, 2022, the body of a 34-year-old Brockton woman was found by a fisherman in Coventry's Carbuncle Pond with lacerations on its head. After the autopsy, it turns out she was pregnant. Who was she? Who could have done this? Let's get into the case of Leila Duarte Da Luz right now on Love and Murder. Welcome everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Love and Murder, your weekly true crime podcast telling you cases of heartbreak that turn to homicide. I am your host, Kai. And in today's episode, we're discussing a case of a woman who was murdered while she was pregnant and the horrible way she was murdered and who did it. Before we begin, I want to say that this episode and all my episodes are sponsored by my lambs and Patreon, patreon.com/Love and Murder. Be sure to subscribe to Love and Murder right now while you're listening so you don't miss a case. And if you didn't know, you can also subscribe to our Patreon so that you don't have to hear intros such as this one or commercials that are coming up. You'll get Kai rants, bonuses, and you'll be a sponsor of Love and Murder. Patreon.com/Love and Murder. In the meantime, though, grab your butts, grab your BJ's apple juice, murderandlove.com/BJ's, and let's get into some Love and Murder. On December 21st, 2022, when a fisherman was out fishing, I guess, he saw a body beneath the ice of Carbuncle Pond in Coventry, Rhode Island. He called 911, of course. When police arrived, they pulled the body out of the ice and saw that it was a woman with lacerations on her head. The woman was also wearing an engagement ring. Quote, once on scene, detectives observed that the unidentified female had sustained several lacerations to her head and determined that her death was suspicious. The following day, the Rhode Island Medical Examiner's Office conducted an autopsy and confirmed the manner of death as a homicide and the victim was pregnant. End quote. So, like I said, after the autopsy, it showed that the victim had been 8 to 10 weeks pregnant and was reportedly wearing an engagement ring. It also showed that the body had been in the water for hours. The ME reported that the cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head with a, quote, compression fracture to the skull as well as drowning. Yes, drowning, because the ME saw that there was water in her lungs, which means that she was alive when she entered the water. Lambs, she is pregnant. Somebody bashed her over the head and then threw her in the water while she was alive and pregnant. I mean, don't get me wrong. Murder is wrong. We all know this. Nobody should be murdered. Nobody should be conducting murder, whatever. However you want to put that phrase. But is it just me, or is it 150 times more wrong that the one who is murdered is pregnant? Like, that kind of stuff I can't get over. On December 27th, which was 6 days after the discovery of the body, and after the Brockton Police Department in Massachusetts had gotten a missing persons report, the woman was finally identified. It was 34-year-old Leila Patricia Duarte Da Luz of Brockton, Massachusetts. So now the police know who this is. Now they need to find out who did this and why. So state police executed tons of search warrants, and by tons, I mean over 53, over the course of what they called a, quote, extensive investigation. Because I think those cops feel the same as me. This woman was pregnant. So we're going to scour Massachusetts. We're going to scour Rhode Island. We're going to find you. Quote, the evidence collected required a massive amount of time and effort for investigators to analyze the technical data and physical evidence. But with this information, coupled with numerous witness interviews, detectives established the framework for the criminal charges brought forth today. Let's stop here for a short commercial break to remind you about our Patreon. If you want to be a supporter of Love and Murder to help us grow bigger and better and just be a better show all around, and you want to help Kai not losing her mind, which is always a bonus, then go ahead and join our Patreon, patreon.com/love and murder. In Patreon, you become an exclusive lamb and you get everything that we post all over the web. You get extras that nobody on the web sees, and you're a sponsor of Love and Murder, which means that you are a supporter of Love and Murder and you do get extra bonuses with being that supporter. Patreon.com/Love and Murder. Join us today. And before I get back to the episode, I want to remind you about BJ's. In this economy, everybody is trying to save money. I hate grocery shopping. I hate grocery shopping. No matter if I go to the grocery store for egg and milk, my bill always comes up to $100. However, if I go to BJ's, that $100 means I don't have to shop for another 3 to 4 weeks. As opposed to if I go to a regular store, that means next week I'll be right back at the store spending another $100. BJ's is a way to save money. I am not telling you this just because. I'm telling you this because this is something I do. I am a supporter of BJ's and I think you would be too. They always have great sales going on top of their already inexpensive products. You're always saving money. And another way that I'll help you save money is if you sign up for BJ's today using my code. Go to murderandlove.com/BJ's. You will save $35 on your first year's membership. $35 I'm helping you to save. murderandlove.com/BJ's. Join BJ's today and you can save money on your groceries starting now. And now, back to the show. On Wednesday, May 5th, 2023, police announced the arrest of 2 men in connection with the death of Leila. They arrested 35-year-old Gary Gromkiewicz of Lincoln, Rhode Island, and he actually turned out to be Leila's fiancé. And they also arrested 46-year-old Michael Lambert of Pawtucket. Just the word Pawtucket, I feel like people would have like a country accent. Pawtucket. I'm from Pawtucket. I'm sorry. Stay on target. Anyways, Gary was charged with murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Not only is he Leila's fiancé, he's also the father of the unborn baby. Now, Gary was on probation from a 2015 felony assault with a deadly weapon conviction. Now, during the investigation, police learned that Leila had been last seen leaving her home in Brockton at 2:30 a.m. on December 21st. She had left with Gary, and she was seen getting into the backseat of a dark-colored SUV with Rhode Island license plate. Police later found out that this dark-colored SUV actually belonged to Michael. The investigation also revealed that their cell phones pinged near the pond. Their cell phones, both Gary and Michael's, pinged near that pond where Leila's body was found. Leila had gotten engaged in October of 2022 when she was pregnant with Gary's child. And they had gotten into a fight about the ring because he was using her money to buy it. And she was like, "What do I look like to you?" Absolutely not. This is a loan to buy my ring and you can give me the money back. Or second option, you can use your money and get me another ring. So that's what this argument sounded like in my head. So on December 19th, they went to Macy's in the Warwick Mall to buy an engagement ring. And this was the ring that she ended up being found in. And it was a diamond wedding band. During the investigation, police found out that on December 24th, Gary had bought another engagement ring at a pawn shop in Fall River. Now, you would think that he had bought that maybe for Leila, but no. He had bought this and proposed to another woman on December 24th. Now, remember, they had gotten engaged. Him and Leila had gotten engaged on October. And now by December 24th, after they had just it hasn't even been 10 days yet. After they had just bought her a new ring, now he's buying somebody else a ring and proposing to this woman. When investigators spoke to Gary's mother, his mother told them that he had broken up with Leila because, as she said, he said he didn't think that Leila was pregnant. He thought she was lying about her pregnancy. His mother also told police that the woman he had proposed to had given him an ultimatum, and that was that he had to choose between her and Leila. So it's me or her, one of the two, but you can't do both. And basically she said, you couldn't afford to support 2 families, so it's me or her. So anyway, Michael ended up being charged with murder and conspiracy to commit murder, and he was being held at the adult correctional institutions for violating his parole. And I have to say, allegedly. Both of them, both Gary and Michael, were being held without bond and were scheduled to be arraigned in the Kent County Superior Court. Now, Michael has a previous murder conviction from 1995 when he was only 17 years old, where he was convicted of second-degree murder for stabbing a homeless man. And that homeless man was 45-year-old Sylvester Gardner. Police at the time said that this was, quote, a savage and undeniably felonious assault, and that Michael had played a, quote, integral and active role in the murder. And so on December 22nd, 1997, the Rhode Island Supreme Court had upheld Michael's conviction for second-degree murder and committing a crime of violence while armed with a firearm. The ME had said at the time that Sylvester's injuries were so, quote, grave that it looks like, quote, he got hit by a train. That's how much he was stabbed up. Oh my God. And here's a snippet of the Rhode Island Supreme Court's decision to uphold his murder charge. Quote, Gardner's facial bones were completely destroyed. An axe handle was impaled through his face. He had massive hemorrhaging injuries to his neck, and he had sustained serious injuries to his groin. The co-defendant William Page's palm print was found on the axe handle, and Lambert's palm prints were found on the handle of an ice chipper retrieved from the scene of the crime. State medical examiner Elizabeth Lamposata, MD, testified that the ice chipper could have inflicted some of Gardner's injuries. Although Lambert testified in his own defense that he had picked up the ice chopper and discarded it without ever having wielded it against Gardner. Lambert did admit that he had procured the rope with which Page bound Gardner, that he kicked the victim, and that he struck him a few times with a lightweight broom handle. Lamposata testified that Gardner was alive during most of the beating, which she estimated took about 10 minutes to inflict. End quote. What? Wow. So Michael had this against him. Gary, on the other hand, was previously convicted of assault and robbery. So while they were both in prison, this is when they met each other and became friends. So during the bond hearing, this was when it was said that they were not going to get bond and everything. Prosecutors alleged that around 2:30 a.m. on December 21st, 2022, like I said, Gary and Michael both drove to Brockton to pick up Leila at her house. According to the cell phone location data, they then drove around Rhode Island for many hours, making stops here and there at gas stations and convenience stores, and all of this was captured on security camera. Then the cell phone location data showed that they drove to a part of Coventry near Carbuncle Pond. And then to move on, saying that at some point in time, that's when Leila was seriously hurt before they allegedly left her in the Palm. I have to say allegedly because the case is still ongoing. Investigators said that the, quote, indirect movements of their cell phones between Warwick and Coventry are, quote, consistent with persons seeking or searching for a location to dispose of potential evidence, end quote. Prosecutors also said that a few days after Leila's body was found, Lincoln police had called Gary, and when they called him, he became, quote, increasingly agitated. And near the end of the phone call, he said, quote, I'm all set. I have a girlfriend. I don't want anything to do with Leila. If you find her, don't call me. I don't care. And then hung up on investigators. So then in September 2023, both Gary and Michael pled not guilty to all of their charges. And Gary was supposed to go to a pretrial on October 31st, 2023. But I don't see any update on that. I don't see any update on the case since the bond hearing. I just don't see anything else. So as far as I can see, they're still both in jail with no bail and awaiting their hearing. And I will keep you updated on this case. What did you think about this episode, lambs? What in the crap? I don't understand. I just don't understand. That is freaking insane. If your current girlfriend is telling you that you need to choose between your previous girlfriend of 10 days ago and her, then you choose. And if you can't afford two families, then you need to choose wisely because you're the one who made the decision to have a baby. Murder is not the option. You need to figure out a way to support that kid and whatever kid you're about to have with your new fiancé of, less than 10 days. But that's just the responsibility you have. That's just it. Murdering your ex-fiancé and your child is not the answer. Take responsibility for your actions. You were having a child coming along. Okay, now you need to find a job that could support that child. And with your current girl, you need to find a job that could support if y'all are having a child with her. Also, if she couldn't understand that you had a child coming and she was like, well, you need to pick between me or your child. Well, the answer is obvious, which is going to be your child. Like any woman, men and women, any woman or any person, that's what I want to say, that'll make you choose between your child and them, chuck the deuce, because the child didn't ask to be here. This person is here on their own volition. They can go and find somebody who doesn't have a child. And I don't want to hear the crap about, oh, but I loved her or him so much. Your child didn't ask to be here. So you need to give that child the same amount of love and take care of your child that you brought into this world. So once again, I'm ranting because people piss me off and I can't believe this was his decision, him and Michael. And you call your friend, hey, come help me get rid of my fiancé, my ex-fiancé who's pregnant. And the person says, okay, are you serious? It wasn't one, but two people. But I guess if you can chop somebody up to the point, well, allegedly to the point that they look like they were hit by a freaking train, then I guess this was nothing to you. I don't know. Anyway, the poll question that I'm going to put out is, do you think that people who murder pregnant women should get a harsher trial and a harsher punishment than people who didn't murder a pregnant woman? I don't know how to word that because either way it sounds horrible. I'm not saying that basically murder's wrong. Murder's wrong, period. I'm just wondering, do you think they should get a harsher punishment for murdering a pregnant woman? So that is the poll that I'm going to have for you. Be sure to answer that. You can answer that on Spotify. You can answer that in the Facebook group. You can answer that anywhere. In the Patreon or the WhatsApp group. I haven't really been posting to the WhatsApp group and I really need to change that. It just seems like it's growing so slowly, so I haven't been focusing on it, but I need to change that because I want this WhatsApp group because social media doesn't always show you what everyone posts, so you'll be missing posts that I put out if it's only through social media, which is why I'm trying to do the WhatsApp. You can either go to our Patreon, patreon.com/love and murder. You could actually join that for free. There's a free option where you'll be able to see like the social media stuff. Or you could jump on our WhatsApp, which is secure and it doesn't show your information at all. So you join anonymously. Even I can't see. I'll just see more members join. That's all I'll see. Doesn't show your profile picture, doesn't show your name, doesn't show your phone number, nothing. So if you want to join the WhatsApp, it is murderandlove.com/WhatsApp. Anyways, like I was saying, that is all I have for you today. Be sure to share this episode with everyone you know and everyone you don't. Go ahead and just hit that share icon right now before the show ends and share on your Facebook, share on your Instagram, share on all your social media, share to your WhatsApp, share in your text messages. And like I said, share with everybody you know and everybody you don't. And I will leave you with my reminder that I always remind you about in my very first episode of every week. And that reminder is that it's all love and no murder, y'all. Bye. Stay tuned for my commercial guest.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? Turn your dial to find the frequency of the past.
Captain Midnight.
Where the classic stories of mysteries, sci-fi, thrillers, and suspense are found waiting to be heard once again.
Another case for Nick Carter, Master Detective.
You'll find a variety of those stories here, in their original form, where each episode takes you to another place or time.
The Man of Bronze, Doc Savage.
But only when you find the mystery frequency. Available everywhere.
The shadow knows.